Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Have you guys given it much thought of what you're going to do when friends or family show up at your doorstep? You know, the ones that kind of rolled their eyes at you when you were trying to convince them that, hey, things are going to get rough. Things are getting crazy, supply chain problems and, people are going to panic at some point, and it's going to be hard to buy food. It's going to be hard to get things. Electricity might be in short supply. All these things that are going on. And you've been trying to convince your loved ones, and they're not really listening. Maybe they agree with you somewhat, but they're not really doing anything proactive. Have you given it much thought of what you're going to do when they show up at your doorstep? Because even if they don't know all the details of what you have, it's probably obvious to them that you are much more prepared than them. And at some point, if things continue to go down the path that they're going down, and it's tough for them, they might say, you know what, let's just go out to so-and-so's place. They've got food. They live on a little farm. They got them chickens running around. They milk them cows. They got them goats. They got to be doing okay. I mean, they have fireplace. It's cold. We're freezing. We can't get any gas for our furnace or propane. And we're freezing to death here because, there's such a shortage of it. Well, they must be doing all right. The odds of this happening, I think, are much greater than you might suspect. And if you have not sat down and given this real serious thought of what you're going to do, I would strongly suggest that you do that. It is a conversation that we have had here on the homestead, my wife and I. In fact, it's a conversation we had today with some friends. Today was actually a quite busy day for us. I'm a little wore out. Some friends that we have made through this channel that moved here to the Ozarks, in part because of the stuff that they have heard about through the channel. We ended up becoming friends with them, and they needed some help with a pickup truck to do some hauling and pulling around that they didn't quite have yet. So we spent the day helping them do that. And so this was part of the conversation with them of what do you do with those family members that, they're not interested really in hearing what you have to say. Or like I said, maybe they actually hear it. Maybe they agree with it. Maybe they'll sit there and say, yeah, you're right. It's probably going to happen. It's heading down that road. Yeah, it makes sense. But yet they never do anything about it. I think the first reaction for a lot of us is probably what I have said. The door of this ark is going to eventually close. And when it closes around here, those left on the outside are going to have to fend for themselves. And that's easy to say right now. But what happens when your brother and his wife and their two little hungry kids show up at your doorstep? Or your own children. You may have adult children that have turned their back on you or your way of life. Or maybe not even that drastic. They just don't think it's going to be that bad, and they're not listening. And, mom and dad, they're a little extreme on this, a little paranoid. And they show up at your doorstep, and they're hungry. Your grandkids are hungry. Your kids are hungry. And they know that you could take care of them. They know that you have much more resources. What do? I mean, it's hard at that point to look them in the eye, look your loved ones and your family members and friends in the eye and say, sorry, I told you so. We only have enough for us. We only take care of the ones that, kind of like the old mother hen, if you didn't help us plant and harvest the wheat, then you're not going to get anything when we make the bread. I think it's something that we all need to think long and hard about. I'm in that situation. Don't think that just because I have some YouTube channel that everyone in my circle is, as prepared as the rest of us. That's not true. I have loved ones. I have family members, children even, adult children that, they're not completely on the other side of things, but they don't they don't prepare. One of the things that we do when we are able to, and we certainly don't have deep pockets so that we can't do this. I would love to be able to have the money to do this, but we don't. Is we try to put aside extra every chance we can. Of our preps, I know how much we have for our family here on the homestead and how long it will last. And then we try as much as we can to put aside extra stuff. Now, I will tell you the things that I put aside for them, it's, the cheaper stuff, an extra bag of rice, an extra bag of beans, big bags, but we still try to put those things aside. And then we also talk to those people. Some respond and some say, what if we store some things out there? And that's okay. Others, again, just kind of, roll their eyes, nod their head, and move on. We are typically a compassionate people. But we also have to remember we have to take care of ourselves and our families first. And if people outside our direct circle show up, it could put us into a rough spot. I can't make the decision for you, but what I can say is that you should really start considering this problem that could happen. Do you even have the place for them to live? Are you prepared to, put them to work, to say, listen, you're allowed to come here. They show up at your doorstep and the world has gone into chaos. You could say, you're allowed to stay here, but you have to work this many hours a week. That sounds good, but most of these people in the modern world have no clue of how to work out here. They don't know how to do a garden. They don't know how to take care of animals. So here you are teaching them how to do it. There is no good answer to this. And many of you, I suspect, will jump in and give what your answer is, but there's no good answer. People are waking up and realizing this kind of stuff. Today, after we helped these friends all day, we stopped at a little coffee sandwich shop in Ava, Missouri. For those of you local, we ate at True Brew Coffee Shop. And I ended up talking to 3 completely separate different people there. All 3 of them had no clue that I do a YouTube channel. So it wasn't like that started the conversation. These were just random people that I'd never seen before, and they'd never seen me. They didn't know who I was. All 3 of them, the conversation led to the same direction, that things are going to start getting really bad here soon. That we've got to start preparing, that we are preparing, they are preparing, and that we have to be on the lookout for like-minded people so that we can kind of start pooling our resources, because the world that we're in is starting to spiral out of control. It's been spiraling out of control for a while, but it's certainly getting to that point now that it's going to start being very noticeably different, noticeably difficult. So it's not just people within our own little circles of crazy preppers that are waking up and realizing this. Everyone, or at least a lot of people are. Everyone is certainly not true, but a lot of people are waking up to this. And at some point, when someone loses their job, when someone can't pay their bills, when someone goes to the grocery store and there's no food and they have no food in the house, when someone's electricity gets shut off, or there's shortages and they can't even heat their home, at some point, it's very likely that people will show up at your house. I'm not talking about total strangers that you don't know, that you would have much less of a problem using force against them to keep them off your property. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about some random stranger showing up trying to get food from you. I'm talking about your children, your grandchildren, your nieces, your nephews, your brother, your sister, your mother, your best friend, person you went to high school with, the guy in his family that was your best man at the wedding, or so on. Those people showing up. We do what we can here to prepare for that. But we most certainly, my wife and I were talking the other day. She said, You know, we listed off the close family members that we have. You know, not every family member, but the ones that are close. And what would happen if they all showed up at our property? As much of the preps that we have, that we feel good about the amount that we have, those certainly would dwindle down quite fast if all those people showed up. Sure, eventually, could this land produce enough food to take care of all those? Yeah, but not for a while. And especially not if they show up in the wintertime. You're not going to be producing any food then. So it would be quite a while before we could take care of, like, the land could really support that many people. That is part of our plan here. Even though, for instance, like our garden space, and we have a very large garden space, but we have the ability, in the way I've set things up and planned in my mind, I have the ability to expand that greatly when needed. So if something like that happens, I have the ability to start expanding things. I think this is something that's worth and worthy of us seriously talking about. We don't want to find ourselves in a situation where the people on, and I'm using our homestead for an example. I don't want to find myself in a place where my wife and my children that are here, the ones of us that have worked this land, the ones that have prepared and talked about this and planned for this, end up risking doing without, or putting ourselves in a vulnerable place because we're helping out other family members. But yet on the same token, we don't want to, just the other side, we don't want to find ourselves in a place where we're telling loved ones, people that we dearly love, parents, you know, older children, brother or sisters, that are standing there hungry, scared, cold, whatever it is, say, sorry, we don't have enough, you know, go somewhere else. When it is obvious that we do have a lot here, we just may not have a lot here for everybody to last a very long time. Again, I don't have an answer for this. This is it's a dilemma that we're put in as a believer, as a man of the Bible that seeks righteousness as much as I can, that seeks to live a life of in that way. You know, I'm convicted to do unto others and to love thy neighbor. But at what point do we risk the ones around us? There's a balance here. And all I can tell you to do is prepare as much extra as you can. And probably, like I said, do the cheap stuff if you have to. You know, the cheap elbow macaroni pasta from Walmart, bags of rice, bags of beans, bags of corn, things like that. I honestly, even though that this might seem offensive and hurtful, if someone showed up, if a family member showed up and we allowed them to be here, and we say, listen, you know, this is the food that we've set aside for you. I know it's not great, but it is food. It'll keep you alive. I don't personally see anything wrong with that. I'm have a little harder edged than maybe some. Talk to them, try to convince them, tell them, hey, you know, if you'd like to at least put some extra food up, maybe at your house, if you'd like to bring some food out the next time, we will label it, we will keep it separate, we won't eat it, it will be yours. That's good. If they come for a visit, try to teach them what you're doing around the place. Teach them how to take care of animals, how to garden, even if it's just little quick lessons while they're there. These are all beneficial. And of course, continually try to open their eyes. Some people, it's never going to happen. And it's very possible that some of those people that you deeply love and care about wouldn't come to you anyways, because it's, you know, this kind of cut their nose off to spite their face kind of thing. There is such a divide right now with people that are family members that are not having anything to do with each other because of political differences and ideologies and things. So that is always a possibility that you wouldn't have to worry about this. But you still need to prepare for this day because it could very likely happen. It doesn't even have to be an apocalypse, a SHTF or anything. It just has to be that they've lost their job, or they're hungry, or they can't keep their, their house warm, or whatever it is, because things just tighten up that much and get tough. And you need to do what you can to prepare for that and work out a plan ahead of time. And as best as you can between now and then, communicate with them, talk to them, because you don't want to be in a situation where you truly have to choose that way. Again, I don't have a good answer for this. I am just telling you, you probably should do what you can to prepare. All right, folks, thank you all for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.